Yes, DJ Spinna, remixer, producer, DJ, obviously, from Brooklyn, New York. I mean, I was pretty much born into it. You know, music has always been part of my DNA, my fiber, my upbringing, whatever you want to call it. And you know, me progressing into the whole art form of DJing. I mean, it was around me. You know, I was inspired by block parties in Brooklyn in the '70s. Even we can even go as far as like listening to DJing on radio when mixing started to get popular. You know, mix shows in the early 80s. You're talking like 81, 80, 81, 82, 83. That all that stuff inspired me, and obviously hip hop as a culture in its original form in all aspects. You know, all inspiration. Honestly, the block parties really meant a lot, you know, because that was a time when life was a lot more simple, um, and it was all about community and people gathering and having a good time in your neighborhood, on your block. I was always that kid that hung out on the sidelines next to the DJ, watching them do their thing, and saying to myself, one day I'm gonna do that, you know. So those memories are endeared to me for sure. Like, you know, I hold those. And actually, the funny thing is, one of the guys on my block, it was a crew called the Laser Rock Crew that used to do all the sound systems and the block parties on my block in Crown Heights. Ended up being one of the guys to hand me down some of his collection when I started getting into it. So it came full circle. You know what I mean? Like, it was an honor to get that. I would say my career really started off in college when I went to SUNY Binghamton, upstate New York, and doing weekend parties. I did college radio for 4 or 5 years, and paid my way through school for the most part. So once I graduated and I came home, I never got a job. I just went straight into, I had beef with my mom and everything. She was like, "Get a job," and I was like, "No, I have to pursue my dream." I've always wanted to get into making records as well. I've been going into recording studios since 1985, and was part of several groups, several hip hop groups, trying to get signed to record deals and what have you. So side to side, between DJing and producing, it's always been a goal. So it was always, something that I aspired to do. So once I came home from school, I just went full throttle, and by '96, we started our own label, Beyond Road Recordings. Had the group Jig Masters put some records out, and first few remixes I did, De La Soul, Das Effects, MC8. Once those things set the precedence for my career. You know what I mean? And it just took off from there. Just went crazy. My mother was always supportive of me. She just didn't want me to be a flunky. You know what I mean? She didn't get it at first, but once the first record came out and it got some airplay, she understood what was going on. Trends move, they come and go. I think what's helped me is not always succumbing to the mainstream, and always following my own path and creating my own situation. I'm not a slave to the system. I have my own independent situations all the time, and it's been a blessing. But I would say that's been the challenge, because you're not part of the matrix. You constantly have to keep evolving and creating situations for yourself where you can, make things happen, pretty much. So I'm happy with where I am right now, because at the end of the day, I have a core follow. I know that I have a strong fan base, and once you have that ground base, there's no stopping you. You know what I mean? Some people, they start here, they start high, and things fall apart, and they don't have their foundation covered. You know what I'm saying? They got to start from scratch. I want people to know that it's all about music. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than hip hop. True, yes, it's a culture, but at the end of the day, it's about respecting music. I think that I'm definitely one of the most versatile DJs out there. Um, and I've come a long way to have that certain level of respect for music. Because, even as a digger, for example, um, I I grew up with a lot of music, grew up with a lot of records, but when I got into producing and going out digging for vinyl. It was primarily about breaks and finding samples. But then as you delve deeper into artist catalogs, you accumulate more of certain artists, and then you start digging into producers and digging into labels and digging into session players on the records and background singers on the records. You just want to have it all. And then I'm a club head as well, so I was fortunate to end up going to one of the most legendary clubs of New York, which was the Paradise Garage, the year that they closed. I got in there when I was about 17 years old. And once you're immersed in that atmosphere, you understand what music is about. So I collect many genres. It's not just about breaks and funk and soul. I collect Latin, Brazilian, rock, jazz, world music. It's about music. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I hope people remember me for. You know what I mean? Even as a producer, I'm not just doing hip hop. I'm doing dance records. I'm doing jazz records. I'm doing soul records. It's just being versatile. You know what I'm saying? Music is universal.